What's up, man? How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. All right, cool. So I tweaked my lesson for you, so I got some for top lane specific, but it's not going to be like super champion specific. I'll use a lot of like Teemo examples for you, just so it's like I have at least something as by way of examples. I only had like an hour or so, sorry, but
That's fine.
all right, so I'm gonna record this session, and then I'm gonna post it on YouTube. I can make it private, so only you can watch it, but it's just so you can kind of like rewatch it if you really want to. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Just so you have something to reference, so you don't have to like take notes or anything. You can just kind of listen or whatever. So I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna share my screen with you.
Okay. Okay.
That way we can kind of talk through some things. Here we go. Share screens. Let's share that one. All right. Can you see my mouse moving?
Yep.
All right, perfect. All right, cool. So we'll start with. So basically, before we start, I just want to say, like, I don't kind of know where you are with the game, so I'm gonna kind of like err on the side of being a little bit more simple with stuff. But if you already know what I'm talking about, just say it and we can move on, just so I don't like waste your time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've played since beta.
Okay, so you know quite a bit. And you said you're as high as gold 2 before?
Yeah, I was gold 2. And then I quit playing for about a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay. So are you just getting back now after 2 years?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you've seen him play a couple games, but I'll probably be back maybe 3 weeks.
Okay, yeah. As you've seen, a lot has changed, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel like there's like a new patch every week or two, so that was definitely something different than I think like season 2 and 3, where I don't think they were patching quite as often back then, and like the patches like dramatically changed the game. So, the metas are always changing. So I don't know. It's kind of hard to focus on like just one specific meta. So I don't want to like talk about that too much as just kind of general in every meta. This is what you need to know to just like stomp lane every time, right?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, just kind of looking at your OPGG, it's a little tough to tell because you have so few games played. But it looks like you're playing a lot of top lane, right?
Yeah.
Do you play Xin and Volibear top 2, or were those jungle games?
Those are usually jungle.
Okay, all right, cool.
I have a champ list that I use.
Okay.
Champ pool.
So, do you usually play like melee bruisers and tanks in the top lane, or do you mix it up? Like, what's your usual style?
My top lane is typically Wu, Shen, and Malphite.
Okay, that's a pretty solid. Yeah, that's pretty solid. Okay, cool. So, what are you like are you just trying to get back into like climbing? Like, you want to just get as high as you can? Like, what's your kind of goal, really?
Yeah, my goal is really just mechanical knowledge. My laning phase sucks.
Okay.
Just to be honest, I mean, towards the end of the game, especially with Wukong, I end up putting caravans on, and it's going okay. But if my lane phase is better, I would probably my win rate would jump way up. I know.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. And I mean, okay. So I'll kind of go over this in a little bit, but like, when you're going into a game, you want to like kind of break down your champ and especially in the loading screen, like look at the enemy champ who you're laning against, and then also the team comp, right? So if you're a Malphite top against like a ranged opponent, it's going to be a brutal lane, right? You're going to get poked down a lot. So, your goal isn't to win that lane, right? Because it's going to be tough. I mean, if you win that lane, great, you're going to have to outplay your opponent. But if you get kind of hard countered, your job is to just kind of hang in there and not die, right? Because your utility is going to be the teleport, it initiates, right? It's going to be helping your team in the mid to late game. So losing lane isn't always a bad thing in top, right? Like just going even is a one lane, right? Because you're going to outscale the opponent, right? If they don't deny you, which is what their job is, right? If you're a Malphite, and you get all your items anyway, and you just farm as best you can, you're still essentially going to win that game, right? And that's the end of the line, right? So I don't know if your focus should necessarily be to win every lane, but it should be to just get to your goal, right? Which is helping your team mid to late game. So it sounds like you're doing that with Wukong. That's great, but hopefully I can give you a couple tips here that'll help you with Malphite and Shen especially, who just get like poked to death, right? With some of the harder top lane opponents. Okay, so let's go through like kind of the before game setup stuff, like runes and masteries. These are I don't know how much you like try and min max that stuff, but from like gold and below, and I'd say probably even platinum and below, I don't think it's necessary to like try and like theory craft. You know what I mean? Like runes and masteries. Just go to Champion GG and Pro Builds. Do you use those websites?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'd say those two just just do what the pros are doing, and then just kind of forget about it for now, because it's just not that important to like get ahead of the meta. And you should be good there. In terms of like your hotkeys in the game, I'm sure you've got that all set up too, right? Like you've got your everything's comfortable for your hands and all that. A couple of like tips that I've started to learn over like that I've kind of figured out is it's like really. Do you use the F keys, F1, 2, and 3, and 4, to like look at the other players on the map?
Not so much. I kind of just click.
Okay, yeah. So that's actually here. I'm just gonna run through this real quick. Let's run and do a custom real quick. And I know this is kind of basic stuff, but like these are like small tips that I just kind of like just like when I'm talking about like min-maxing your masteries and stuff. Like you do it and then you forget about it, but sometimes like if you really think about shit, it's actually really helpful. Here, where the fuck? There we go. So sometimes it's like really helpful to just get like to just like kind of relook at things and see if like what you're doing is the most optimal. So for instance, like you've got your fingers on QWER, right? The typical back button is B, right? And then open shop is P, right? Do you use those keys for those? Okay, so well, I kind of like rebinded those buttons so that I can open both of those up without having to move my hand away from QWER. And like I don't know what kind of mouse you use. Do you use a mouse with like buttons on the side?
Yeah, I got that.
All right, nice. So what I did was, I don't know if you use the side buttons at all, but it's like kind of a huge help. So for me, for instance, like probably should have picked like a Morgana or something. But so for instance, I have a Death Adder, one of the whatchamacallits,
the razors.
Razors, that's right. So what I did was I bound my left click to attack move. So you can see I'm left clicking now, and it's got the red, and then I'm right clicking for this. So it's just easier for me to attack move. Obviously this is Teemo, so like it's going to be a little bit better than, you can't really kite with a melee champ. But like the side buttons, there's a forward and a back side button. The back button I bound to my back so that I don't have to move my hands at all for that. And then my forward button I bound to, and this is just to give you an idea, some more ideas for stuff to do. But so my forward button I moved to abilities and spells. So you can see here, spell 3, mouse button 5. So when I play a lot of Morgana top lane, and I play a lot of Morgana support, and especially in the top lane, if I want to self shield, I put my spell on mouse button 5. So like if someone throws something at me, I don't have to like move my cursor from wherever I'm clicking to myself and hit E. I can literally just hit the mouse button, right? And it just self-casts. Yeah. So, I mean, just depends on what champ you use. If you've got a self-cast ability that you need to use very, very quickly, right? So just to give you something to think about in that regard. And for communication, so like I moved my my purchase button, like to open up the shop, the P, I moved that to the C button. So like I literally just moved my index finger down from R to C really quickly. It's easy to just bring it up quick and maybe see what like the price of something is while you're in lane, so you know how much more gold you need. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that way it just kind of, I mean, these things save you like, I don't know, like fractions of a second, but it's actually kind of helpful, right? When you're in game. Secondly, like my target, I moved to T, so that's right next to my R button. My G, right, is that. My H is the missing, and my V is, this is where I'm going. So all of those are with your index finger, and all of those are done T, G, H, and V, like right where you don't have to look away from your keyboard, you don't have to move your hand, you know what I mean? And those are just things that I use. And then again, like whenever I start a game, I make sure top lane's in the top row, jungle's in the second row, mid lane, AD carry, support. And the reason I do that is so it aligns with your F keys. So if I were to hit F1, F2 right now, I don't know how big your hands are, if it's kind of comfortable for you to even reach those keys, but when I'm in lane, instead of having to like kind of click here and kind of do one of these, that kind of, and then spacebar it back, like it's kind of wonky, right? Because you gotta like align it, and it does take like kind of a substantially longer period than just literally hitting F2 and then spacebar back to your guy.
Yeah.
And just kind of getting that, like, okay, there's a skirmish in the jungle with my jungler. I'll F1. If he's losing that fight, I can quickly just start moving in that direction to help him, right? So, especially having the jungler, if you move him to this slot. So, by the way, these slots all align. So, this first one's F1, then F2, then F3, then F4, right? And if you're in the first one, it shifts down. So, I always have jungler in F1. So, whenever I see the jungler on the top side, kind of doing Gromp or blue, I can always say, okay, I see the enemy jungler trying to invade. I can F1 that and see if there's a kill I can go help out on, right? And then if it's kind of a no, you know, if there's nothing to do there, I can just quickly spacebar it back and we're back in lane. So, you know, just something quick I can just suggest to you there is just to think about. Obviously, it's not like the end of the world if you're not doing it that way. It's just kind of how I do it, and I like it that way. So,
yeah.
Just a suggestion. Okay, so let's talk kind of like top lane in general. So I don't know if you're gonna try and like add new champs to your pool or whatever, but I like the way that I climbed, and I think that getting to, so I basically got platinum on my main and my on my Smurf, just playing Teemo and Morgana and like Soraka when she wasn't permabanned. So like it's like these are like some of the most simple champs in the entire game, and I'm just trying to, you know, get my game knowledge right, you know, before I move on to like the Zeds and the TFs and, you know, the guys who have kind of more like outside the box play styles. So my suggestion to you would be kind of focusing more on that. Like, it's good that you've got like 3 of your mains, which is like your Wukong, Malphite, and Shen. That's what I would suggest to you. And I mean, you can do it. I've seen people who climb playing like a ton of different champs. I just think you climb and learn faster if you just got really fucking good at like those 3 champs. You know what I mean? Just spam them as often as you can, because you'll always get, as long as you get top lane, you'll always get one of those 3 champs, right? They keep, you know, it's like those. Malphite might be the only one, and maybe Wukong now, who gets banned, but Shen's almost never banned, right? And so my suggestion would just be learn those champs, get really, really good with them, and then once you start kind of getting to around the Diamond 5 level is when you can start kind of expanding into like the more, you know, like your Swain top. That's always good, but it can be, you know, in certain matchups tough, you know. But yeah, so I would say get like a lot higher, and I'm sure you kind of already know all this, but I'm just, you know, just want to make sure you do. So let's see what's next. So all right, so abilities, okay, that's going to go to your pro builds. Okay, so let's talk like laning phase. You said you had some problems with your laning phase. All right, so in general, there's kind of one approach. There's a couple approaches you need to look at when you're starting the game, right? So when you're in the loading screen and you've picked Shen, are you up against the melee? Are you up against the range? How is this lane gonna go in your brain, right? Like, I don't know how much do you think about like your game plan before the game starts? Like, are you
usually, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. Yeah.
Like, so, I'll try to tweak it around depending. The meta's so fucking weird right now.
Yeah.
Like the last game I played, for example. I thought I was going into Vayne top.
Okay.
So I was set up for Vayne top, and then they ended up throwing Graves up there. So you don't really know 100% what you're going into. I mean, I noticed not a lot of difference between Graves and Vayne, except for Graves is just presence.
Yeah, and I guess Graves has more of like a nuke ability. Like, he can blow you up a lot harder than Vayne can. Like, Vayne's more like sustained damage against like a Graves who's more of like a bursty guy. Yeah. So. Yeah. That's kind of the only difference between those, but they're both kind of 80 based, so you just stack armor hard, right? And just try not to get auto, as you know, try and just like with a Malphite, just Q him, right? Just keep trying to Q from a distance, keep your shield up, you know, just kind of those general things. But you know, your idea is, okay, I'm against like a Vayne or a Graves. You know, what's going to happen here? Am I going to dumpster the lane? Probably not, unless you get a lot of jungler help, right? So your goal is to try and freeze the lane, you know, under your tower, and I'm sure you know that already. But obviously, like, someone who's bullying you, it's going to be tough for them to freeze onto their tower because they're constantly going to be pushing, right? Even if they last hit and you lose the first, like, you know, maybe like 75% of the first wave or even the wave and a half, eventually you'll get it to your tower. And the way you win these lanes is by just having jungler help. And it's kind of hard to rely on junglers when you're in the lower elos because they don't really know what the fuck they're doing. Yeah. But just kind of, like, I don't know how much you communicate, but that's one thing that really did take me, just the amount of communication took me from low gold to high gold really, really quickly. Is the fact that, okay, I'm pushed under tower and I'm having a hard time CSing, and he's literally just like, he's standing like right over here, like poking me, right, while I'm trying to get my CS under tower. Like, this is such a long way back to his tower. It's like, it's an easy gank. So all you do is spam ping over and over and over, spam ping, and just don't like think, okay, this top lane's annoying as fuck. Just keep doing it because, like, it's a free kill. Your jungler is gonna appreciate it because he's gonna get a kill out of it, right? And I mean, don't be afraid to communicate, like overly communicate with your team. Like, don't be annoying about it. Like, don't just like sit there and spam ping until you can't do it anymore. But just be like, hey, look, man, like he's pushed me to tower. This is an easy gank. You know, just please come top when you can, and just do what you can until then, right? That's really your only option. You know, you can't really go aggro on them until you've got items. So pre-level 6, my suggestion is to just let the lane push, and then try and set the freeze up right outside your tower or under your tower while CSing as best you can, and then just call for jungler gank. And that's only under like the hardest conditions, right? That's against like hard counters and things like that. So again, like that's the downside of kind of picking a melee champ, right, in the top lane. And this is kind of like why I like playing Teemo so much, is because he doesn't really have a counter, right? Like, there's a few guys like Wukong and Olaf are kind of like his hard counters. But other than that, outside of that, he kind of dictates the lane however he wants. It's kind of the reason I like playing Teemo so much. But against these other guys, you're like the tough part about playing Teemo, and that's kind of like, you know, my suggestion as to how it's going to help you, is that whenever I play a Malphite, which is pretty often, I'd say like 50% of the time I pick Teemo, someone picks Malphite into me because they think it's a counter. But the only way that I will lose lane is if the jungler comes and camps me top. And it really isn't that difficult, because as a lane bully, as a Teemo player, like, I'm always going to be shoving up to their tower almost always, especially with a Malphite. So I'm open to ganks and I have no escapes, right? So think about also who you're up against. Like, if you're up against a Teemo, or you're up against anyone who's ranged who doesn't have like an escape ability, then it's very easy to just come top, have them blow flash, come top again a minute later and get the kill, right? So that'll be my suggestion for you, okay?
Okay.
All right, so let's get into, like, I guess I want to kind of go through. Have you heard of Leaguecraft on YouTube?
It sounds familiar. I can't say that I remember anything specifically.
Okay, no big deal. So here, let me just. What I'm gonna do is don't make fun of my subscriptions. All right, so I'm going to copy this. I'm going to throw this into chat for you to watch. All right, so that go through? That went through. Okay, so this is a great channel. It's like a guy in Australia. He plays on OCE, but he broke down, like, I think it was in season 3, but in season 5 he started back up again. In season 3 he did these like really, really long videos on just general laning phase and just general like mid to late game. It's kind of like an academy for League, but they're really, really insightful and really helpful to like make sure you have like the absolute basics down. And a lot of it might come off as like, oh, I already know this shit, but it's really helpful to watch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through kind of like just, and it was kind of based off a lot of what they kind of taught in those lessons, but I'm going to go through kind of just general like lane mechanics, just so you kind of have your fundamentals down like pat, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we'll start with trading, okay? So first thing we're going to do is talk about the trading stance. Okay, so when you are in, what I'm gonna draw a couple pictures here. Okay, so this is Jeb right here, and this is me. Okay, this is my artistry at work. Don't make fun of me. All right, so the circles I'm building are our auto attack range, right?
Yeah.
So let's pretend that I'm a Teemo, right, or any kind of ranged opponent. So my So my range is a lot bigger than yours. Okay, so when you're like looking to get a CS, when you're looking to get a trade, this is the enemy. Okay, so this is the this is your minion line. This is the enemy minion line. Okay, and that's you're gonna try and stay outside of their circle at all times, right? So if they move forward, right, you're gonna move backwards, right? Just very basic, right?
Yeah.
Just make sure that those never ever overlap, okay, until you're ready to trade, right? So you know, Malphite's AOE ability, right? I don't know if you max that or if you level that first at level 1 or you level your Q, but it's going to be probably dependent on who you're laning against, right? Like, I don't know if you use it as a poke or what, but the idea is, number 1, stay out of the arc range, right? If you have a greater minion advantage, say he's got 2 minions and you've got like 7 and it's pushing, this is a good time to go in and trade, right? Because your minion advantage will help, okay? And it'll help, especially if you've got 5 extra. That's essentially 1 extra spell amount of damage, okay? So even though he can kite a little bit, you get 1 auto, to his 2, he gets a spell. There's still a spell worth of damage that he's taking from the minions. So it's still, you still will come out ahead on that trade. So if you've got the minion advantage, it's okay to trade, okay? Another thing is if one of your minions of your 7 are really low in let me just type this out too. So number 1, keep arc. Let's see. Let's go keep arcs separate. Number 2, if you have a minion advantage, trade. And then if one of your minions are low, walk to the arc and free trade. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if, and I'm sure you've done this subconsciously, I don't know if you like think about this like kind of consciously while you're in the lane, but it's free. It's totally free. So if you, especially if you've got your shield up on Malphite, for instance, if you see one of your minions as low, you see the enemy go to last hit it, he can't last hit it and hit you at the same time. You walk to the edge of this arc right here and wait for his auto attack animation to begin, and then just hit him and walk away, because he'll have time to hit the minion, then hit you once. You'll already be outside of his arc by then, and you'll lose your shield, but you just got free damage. Right? So you can do that also with your Q, right? And I think Wukong's, I don't know what the ability is, but I think he's got what
it extends the range.
Yeah, the extended range. So again, like, it's a slow game. It's a slow paced game, and that's what you have to start getting used to. I don't know, like, if you're used to trying to just get, like, you know, dumpster lane fast, but your job is to just whittle them down and win these micro trades over and over and over. Because if you just play like the very slow, methodical pace and just keep trading like this for free, you will win the lane, right? You will eventually get him lower than you, and then you can get to the point where you need to know your champion's power spikes really well and how much damage they are able to do in kind of a burst amount of time. So say, like, for instance, I know that if I can get any champion level like 3 or below with Teemo at 30% health, I can all in them and kill them every time, and there's no retaliation to it. I flash ignite, auto Q auto, and they're dead, right? So my job is to do this. Is I'm always looking at minion advantages. When they're last hitting, I poke them down to 30%, and then I get a kill guaranteed every time. And that should be kind of your idea too. The only difference is Malphite doesn't quite do the same sustained damage that, say, a Teemo does, because he's, you know, ranged against melee or just ranged against range. So just make sure you're optimally trading as often as possible and try and be like conscious of it, right? And it's tough because it makes the game a lot harder, like to make sure you're paying attention to what's happening on the map as well as these kind of micro trades. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a huge help. Does that make sense? All of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess like my advice is to just get in the habit of just like thinking as much as you can. Like, I don't know about you, but League for me is really tough because I'm always thinking at all times, and there's so much shit to think about that it's hard to like know what you need to focus on at any given point. But kind of the nice thing about the beginning of the laning phase is you don't, have to think about too much, especially top lane, because you're just kind of by yourself, and you don't get too much, attention unless it's, unless the jungler comes from the other team, right? Which if you're a Shen or something, right, it's probably not super often, I would imagine. I don't know. I don't play a lot of Shen, but I don't think like trying to get the Shen killed often early is
no, they don't think into that.
Yeah, so I mean, especially in those kind of lanes, like you can put extra focus into the laning phase and looking, and even Shen has that. I mean, I don't know if have they done the rework on Shen yet? Is that live or?
I believe so, but I haven't played him since it.
Oh, okay, yeah. So I know they
he's my third. He's my third.
Okay, yeah, I know they reworked him to make him a little bit different. I know that his E and his R are the same, but I think they redid his Q and his W. But either way, I think he's got like he's still got that ranged attack. So even the melee guys have a poke ability. So anyway, that's kind of the main gist of it there. So last point here I wanted to say was when you're at a health disadvantage, I mean this is obvious, but stay away from the arc. So obviously just like don't trade if you're lower than him, right? If you traded wrong or he all into you or something and you lost your shield and you had to keep walking away, and you made a mistake, it's no big deal. Just kind of hit your flask or your pots and just wait till you stay way the fuck away from his arc so he can't get back into it. And let's move on to, where'd you go? There it is. Okay. So let's go to, I'm going to give you one more point. These are all very, very basic, but just want to throw it out there and keep it in your brain. I'm sure it's something you have to worry about with a lot of your guys, especially like your Malphites. If you're queuing too often, right, you'd probably run out of mana after a while, I would assume, but that's why you start Flask, right, is to help kind of mitigate that. So, retreat. So, while you're trading, if you can get the kill, go all in. This is obviously something, but a lot of times, like in-game, you don't really think about it. So, if they chase... Oh, I can't spell. Don't just run. And this is going to be applicable to all champs and all lanes, by the way, like these ideas, but just in case you end up playing anybody, like even like is Swain ranged, his autos?
Yeah.
He is, right? Yeah, okay. For some reason I haven't seen a Swain in a game in like 10 years. So if they chase, don't just run. You gotta attack, move away, right? So if they go all in on you, don't just like run away. Try and auto attack, run, auto attack, run, auto attack, run. It's obviously really difficult to do if you're up against the ranged as a melee, but that's something just to think about in the future. So this is kind of your basics on the trading stance, right? It's just kind of micro game in lane mechanics that you can think about and keep track of. Like, does he have a shitload of minions against yours and they're pushing the tower? Then fine. You don't have any opportunity to trade with him, so don't trade. Just last hit till it gets to your tower, and then try and soak up as many minions as you can, get the gold, and then let the lane reset, and then you'll be back to even again, right? There's just making sure you're keeping track of all of that while you're in lane is super important. So, secondly, we'll go to the retaliation trade. Okay, so Another thing, like we've just kind of talked about a little bit into the retaliation trade, but one thing to think about is engage and analysis. So we've already talked about minion count. We've talked about actually I think that's all we've talked about right now. So like let's make another point of summoners. Okay, if he's got flash, if he's got ignite, you got to play more carefully, obviously, but make sure you start to make like a conscious effort to time those things, right? If you can get a jungler gank to come up, write it in chat. You know, okay, he flashed here, but more importantly, okay, it's 5:15. He gets his flashback at 10:15. So I know I've got 5 minutes for a jungle gank, or 5 minutes to know that if I all in him, he can't just flash out of it, which is always useful to have. You know, what are the enemy champion cooldowns? This is like more advanced, like stuff that you probably don't need to know necessarily through Platinum, but as you get better at the game, it's just better to get into these habits early, right? Just knowing, okay, I know that a Teemo blind, for instance, that's like an 8-second cooldown on his blind. I'm only blinded for 2 seconds. So what do you do against a Teemo who just autoed and blinded you? If he's a shitty Teemo, he's gonna auto you, right? And then he's gonna stand there and keep CSing. As a Malphite, you gotta test whether he's good or bad, and this applies to any champions. And all in and aggro the shit out of him after that, because he's got nothing left, right? Like he's got 6 full seconds of just autoing you while you can just hammer him as hard as you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you start with the higher base HP too, so you can absorb more damage than he can. And that's kind of another thing to think about, is just kind of like what's your opponent's kind of overall like kill potential. Like a Teemo is squishy as fuck, and so is like a Gnar, right? A Gnar super early. He's got to stay away, or else he's going to die really easily. So just think about that as well, as okay, once they've used their cooldowns, especially like think of like a Riven, right? A Riven, if once they get all of their Qs off, right, like level 1, she's like useless. She's just like an auto champ, right? And so let them kite away from the first 2 Qs, let her hit the 3rd Q, and then all in the shit out of her, and you'll win every trade, right? Let's see. Where's the jungler? Right? So do you, how often are you looking at your mini-map? Like how often do you reference the mini-map?
Probably once every 10 to 15 seconds.
Okay, so that's like way, way, way too slow. Okay, so you need to be looking at your mini-map. So, okay, so 10 to 15 seconds is actually a long time, because if you think about it, even if you have the river brush warded, so say we're playing from the blue side, right? And all right, so you're over here. So let's say you're here. This is the enemy, right? And you've got yourself a river brush ward. If you check this and it's been say 4 or 5 seconds, and then the jungler comes into view, and you still haven't checked in the next like 5 or 6 seconds, he will be on you before you even notice, right? So 10 to 15 seconds is kind of a lot. So in my opinion, and what I've started to get used to doing, which actually took probably like 5 to 7 games to get like really, really used to, is, as an aside, look at mini map between each last hit, or if you're zoned, right? So if you're zoned as a melee champ, which you're probably going to be some of the time, just stare at the minimap, right? Make sure you always have track of the enemy jungler, right? Because he's going to pop up somewhere, for even if it's like a brief amount of time. If our jungler went ahead and our jungler warded this brush here, and we see their jungler go for red, then you can spam ping, first of all, and then secondly know that he's on top side and there's a chance that you're going to get ganked, right? And just knowing that in the next 1 minute he's either going to go this way or he's going to come that way, right? So you can either spam ping to make sure mid knows, or also spam ping so you can get a counter jungle out of it and maybe get a double kill, right? And this is like really important to just always keep track of the jungler. You see the jungler down here going for bot lane. It's perfect. You don't even have to think about it. You don't even have to waste the ward, right? If you've got a ward and you don't know where he is, always drop the ward. If you've got a ward but you just saw him bot like 10 seconds ago, hang on to the ward, okay? It's small stuff, but in the new patch, you get like the 2 yellow wards to start. Once you use the second one, that's like a 2.5 minute cooldown, which is like retardedly long. Like it's just really, really bad. So until you get to level 9 and get that blue ward or sweeper, whatever you want to go for, I would either buy a pink or hang on to the ward and make it as efficient a ward as possible. Okay, does that make sense? I don't know. Do you think about that very often?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, cool. So I don't know if like I'm helping you at all. I feel like you know all this already. Jesus Christ.
No, yeah. It's
sorry.
It's good stuff. It's not like it's not bad.
Okay, all right. Okay, so and honestly, like, if this is stuff you already know, then great, because that just means you're going to be climbing pretty fast, right? Because this is just the stuff that I apply to every game. Like, another thing, like, just generally talking about League, I don't think it takes, like, a genius to get to Diamond, like, 3. Diamond 3 and below, I think, is very achievable for almost anyone, because this is a very simple game, right? I mean, there's a lot to know, but, like, if you've been playing for a while like you have, just, like, applying the very basic stuff and just making sure you do, like, kind of what, quote-unquote, boring things, you know what I mean? Just making sure you don't mess up the major stuff will have you climbing, like, so fast. Because, I don't know, I'm now playing a lot of, like, mid and high platinum players, and what I'm learning is that they're all fucking stupid. Like, they all make these terrible, terrible mistakes. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I used to be, like, nervous. Okay, I've got a game full of platinum players. These guys are going to, like, dumpster me. No, like, they make terrible decisions too, right? And it's not out of, it's just out of, in my opinion, like, pure laziness, you know? Like, they know these things, but they're not putting it into practice, right? So if you can get yourself into just these habits, you know, and break the old, like, shit habits that you may have, then you'll be just climbing with your eyes closed, in my opinion, okay? I don't, do you like get nervous or have anxiety about playing ranked games? Like, I mean, I notice you play a lot of normals.
Not particularly. I just started playing ranked again, like 3 days ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I played normals when we're. We've got some people I'm friends with who are, to be frank, new and terrible. So I play normals when they're on because it won't take them to do it.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I got the same. Most of my friends are like silver 4, and they don't like care to get good at the game. They just like to have fun, and that's totally fine. So I'm like, yeah, I'm happy to play with them in normals. But so what I did was I created a Smurf account so that I can like mess around. So like the thing is, if you want to like try some of the things we talk about today, you know, like you just want to focus on like trying to focus on the micro trading in lane and like win your lane against a ranged opponent in that way. And maybe you don't want to like just like nuke your MMR by doing that in your main account. I don't know if you have a Smurf, but it would be helpful. Do you have a Smurf or no?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, yeah. So like my Smurf, I'm an idiot, and I took my Smurf to platinum for some reason because I was like trying out new things that worked really, really well, and I didn't like lose enough. So luckily at the beginning of the season we get the reset, so I might just tank my 10 and try and get back into like silver, so I can start like learning new champs in silver, right? And try and build back up to platinum with like a LeBlanc or whatever the fuck I want to play. You know what I mean? So my Smurf is to just try new stuff, and then my main is to like implement them, right? Once I'm comfortable enough, and then continue to climb. And that way, like for me, like I only play ranked, right? Like if I'm not messing around with my friends, like I only play ranked. There's like you're not gonna learn nearly as much in normals, right? Because like when I was leveling up my Smurf, my meat face Smurf, I got to I don't know. I probably can't even show you because it's been so long since I played a normal. Anyway, so my MMR in normals got to like diamond something. Like I had like an 1800 MMR in normals, and I was playing against a lot of diamond players, and like I was like shitting all over them in lane with Teemo. And I was like, I'm not learning anything here because they're playing like champions that they've never played before or playing for the first time, right? So like they're really trying like really new stuff. So my opinion for you is having the game knowledge of like a gold platinum player, going into a silver game with like a champion that you've played once or twice, or like a Malphite that you're trying like some weird build with, or like you're going like AP Wukong or something. Like trying that in like a semi more serious environment, like a silver normals game is much better because they're going to be trying their hardest with the champs that they play instead of like, you know, someone like you who's like got the game knowledge but playing a champ that they're not used to. Does that make sense? I don't know.
Yeah,
like, So that's the way I go about it, and it's been really helpful. So
well, that and even with the changes, like I played Wu back when I was gold and pushing towards platinum, but now it's the whole game has changed so much.
Yeah.
I thought that I knew, you know, like you play a champ, you're like, I'm gonna fucking wreck, doesn't matter who it is. The hardest counter in the game, I'm gonna shit on them.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I was with them, and now champions that I thought I would wreck, you know, like Graves and shit like that. And I think a lot of it is minion trading that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you know, you would think going all in on them at level 2, you beat them at level 2, and usually it's a kill, and it's not like that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, going away from the game for 2 years, like so much has changed. Power spikes changed. Like the rework of all the 80 carries, like back in October. I don't know if you've like really looked at the patch notes for that, but it was like massive. The itemization, like they've really just made 80 carries back to like season 2 when they were just dominating every game. Yep. Like 80 carries are they're made a big push to make them a bigger focus, because like the meta back in like May, June, July was like so focused on taking a melee bruiser, teleport top lane, playing a 45-minute game. And your 80 carry was the most useless player on the map because all he did was provide like a little bit of like DPS in team fights, but like your mid and your junglers were like the hyper carries, and your top lane was just like a bruiser, and you just needed to have a really good tanky team fight comp and just get everyone fed enough to win a team fight at 45 minutes and then win the game. Like it was kind of a boring fucking way to play the game in my opinion. Because I like playing Teemo into that was like kind of a pain in the ass because they just had these like uber like 5,000 HP like Mundo fucking Rek'Sai Sejuani, like it was just stupid. And then like 80 carries and like assassins became kind of like worthless. So they buffed the shit out of everyone who was an assassin or an 80 carry. So but then again, like you were like a dominant Wukong player back in the day. Honestly, it's not gonna take that long for you to get back to that in my opinion. It's just you just gotta probably play 20 or 30 ranked Wukong games and then get used to like the new dynamics of, okay, my power spike to killing Graves isn't level 2 anymore, it's level 4, and I just need like a brutalizer. Wait, they don't even have that in the game anymore. You just need like a Tiamat or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? So like just get that one item and then you can, because right now I think Wukong is in a great spot. When I see a Wukong in my game, I like cry because he is so OP right now in my opinion. I think Wukong's amazing, and I really want to learn how to play Wukong. But I actually might do that in the new season. But he's really getting good in this new patch. So my suggestion, just spam him as often as you can if he's not banned, and just get back to where you were, because I don't think it's going to take very long.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on. Let's go to like lane control. Okay. So I'm going to go back to typing. So, lane control. God, I swear I don't have downs. I don't know what's going on here. I've got like palsy or something. I can't type. All right, so lane control. There's going to be 2 phases to that. First phase is going to be trade and push, and this is probably going to be against like your melee. Your goals while in the trade and push phase is to get favorable trades. Get to your level spikes faster. What else? Make sure you enhance trades with minion damage. So if you're in God, let's see. I know there's a way to do this. Fill solid color white. Let's see if this works. Yeah. All right. So this is ugly as shit, but don't worry about it. Okay. So I just wanted to erase everything, and that's how I did it. All right. So if we go back to here is Jeb. Here is me. And then we'll go back to our little color scheme. Let's go. Let's make it me in red, you in black. Oh, you gotta be shitting me. Okay, fill, no fill. All right, so this is our lane, right? And we've got 3 casters, 3 melee, and we've got 3 melee and 3 casters, right? And we're at level 1. We just got to lane. Everyone's kind of having a good time fighting each other. And say it's like a Darius against your Wukong, and he's like, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna poke him. I'm gonna go hit him. I'm gonna try and do my little spinny axe nonsense. Obviously, your job is to back the fuck out until his axe ends, and then go right back in. As soon as that axe ends, you're gonna want to attack him, because when he comes in and mispositions, my point is you want to wait for a misposition. So I'm gonna misposition so that I can try and get some harass off. If he is able to hit you, it's actually fine, because now that he's standing here, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minions attacking him, right? This one might not because he's too far away. But your job is to stay kind of, if he moves this way towards you, your job is not to move backwards. Your job is to move up. Does that make sense? Because if he tries to follow you, he's getting deeper into your minion range, right? So when he attacks you, he immediately draws aggro. So he hits you, you start hitting him back, and you guys will trade even. But your minions are way closer to him than his are to you. So you're going to maybe get one of the caster minions are going to be too far away. They're not going to aggro you. And maybe one of the melees will switch aggro from your minions to you. But you're still going to have that massive advantage, right? So just think about your positioning in lane 2 when you're trading against another melee, right? The minion cloud, as I like to think about it, is like really, really important, right? Because it's extra damage. And it's hidden. It's like hidden extra damage for people that kind of like platinum and below, because they never think about it, you know? All right, cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's something you kind of like to think about at all? I don't know if you think about like movements all that much, or kind of where like the more optimal positions are for your guy.
Not as dynamic as it is.
Yeah. So like, okay. And it's not like, okay, so that's just one like specific example, right? Like a Darius into a Wukong trying to do something to you. But like just knowing, like just like don't think about, okay, now I have that specific solution for that specific problem, because you could spend 5 hours a day solving specific issues like that. You could solve all of the problems at once, just kind of thinking more about that cloud, right? Just knowing, okay, this is the cloud. This is what he's trying to do in that moment. All I'm trying to do is stay next to my minions, right? So if he moves down towards me, I'm going to move up towards my minions. It's just kind of the logical next step. But you know that because the premise is, here's where my minions are, right? Mm-hmm. If my minions were in a line this way for some reason, like, you know, it got pulled because there was aggro, then you can move backwards, right? Because then you're still in your minion line, right? And that's actually more efficient, because you're then getting closer to your tower. Then some of his minions will move closer to you, and then you get better like freeze advantage over here instead of over here, right? Right. So these are just things like you don't have to think. I don't know if I explained that really well, but my point is, don't think about like specific solutions. Just think about, okay, what is the scenario, and how do I keep that scenario most optimal for me? Does that make sense? Right. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. I don't know if I've explained that well, but I'm glad you're saying okay.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
All right. Cool. All right. So that's your trade and push phase with using the minions to your advantage and using that damage. And if you let's keep set up. Okay, so while you're in your in the trading phase, which is like the first 8 or 9 levels of the game, just look for your opportunities to trade. So look for your opportunities to trade. Again, like, slow down the game, okay? Just make it methodical. I mean, that's why you play kind of your melee bruiser top lane champs. I know we already talked about this, but it's important, right? Like, you can't play a 80 carry style with a melee bruiser top lane, right? Like, these champs all have very, very specific, and there's obviously certain similarities, right, between like a Shen and a Malphite, right? Like,
Yeah.
But each and every champ has a very specific way that they're going to optimally play a lane, and then also team fights, etc. But just make sure that you think about that consciously before you play a game and while you're in the game, right? Like, slow it down. There's no reason to like rush into trying to get a kill in your lane, right? Like, your job first and foremost in laning phase is to get CS, right? It's not to get a kill. Kills are meaningless, right? Kills are essentially, I'm gonna deny the opponent of CS and XP. That's why you get a kill. You get what, like 300 gold for getting a kill? Whoop-de-doo. Like, that's great, and that's good gold that you can have to help you, but it's diminishing after you get the next like 5 kills, right? So the point is to not get kills. The point is to out level and out CS your opponent, because that's what you take into the mid and late game to win the game. So, I mean, you already know that, but still. So, and also one thing is try and position yourself to get CS, and I'm sure you do this already, but get CS and trade at the same time. So, like the Malphite AoE damage, try, and if he goes up, if I'm a Darius and I go up for one of my CS to last hit, you can go up to get one of your CS and then AoE damage, right? So you get the last hit on the CS, and you can also give him a little bit of poke damage.
Right.
So,
And the problem with doing that, though, is that it inadvertently it destroys the freeze, doesn't it?
yes, and so that's why, I guess I haven't really talked about this. So that's why when you set up a freeze, do you know how many minions it takes to set a permafreeze?
No.
Okay, so to set a permafreeze, and let's go back to our map here, and I'll open up a new one. Okay, don't save. So, say we're here, and we want to freeze the lane, okay? And we've let him as the enemy Kennen shove the wave because he's super ranged and we can't poke him, and he's slow pushed the wave, and now he's got 10 minions and we've got our new wave of 6, right? To set up a permafreeze to where you can literally never break this line ever, you just need 4 caster minions, okay? So if you've got 4 that are always alive on his team, then every time a new wave comes, he kills 6, you kill 6, you keep those 4 casters alive, and this line will never move, okay? 5 casters, it'll start to push slowly to your tower, and 3 casters, it'll slow push back, right? So what you can do is think about if we go back to this example, if he goes for a last hit on one of the melee creeps in the middle of the creep wave, yeah, probably not AoEing, so you can shove the wave to him is not a good idea. But say he's going for maybe a caster minion, he's going for one of the minions off on the side, right, of the 3, then your AoE can be coming from this direction, right? So you can still get that last hit, and maybe you AoE 1 or 2 minions, but it's a slower process of pushing than if you were to do it on the middle one, right? Because then you'd AoE all of them, right?
Right.
So think about that too. Just, okay, the green light on the end melees, and maybe a green light on like a caster who's walked too forward for some reason. Okay, and that's just gibberish now. So we're gonna go away from that. So again, so 4 casters are a perfect freeze. So say he goes to back, and he fucks up his push. Instead of pushing all the way to tower with all of his minions, he leaves like a sizable wave, and you're still in lane. If you can set up the 4 casters, he's literally, unless he breaks that freeze, which I'm going to talk about in a second, unless he goes in to try and break that freeze, you can keep it here forever, which means he has 2 options. He can go roam, or he can try and break the freeze. And if he tries and breaks the freeze, your jungler can come and just murder him without any problem whatsoever. Because even if he has flash, he's not going to get away from the gank because he's so deep, right?
Yeah.
So it's super advantageous. So let's see if I can just. There we go. All right. So phase 1 is the trade and push, and within reason, try and do as best you can with this one, right? But just keep in mind that it's another option, and you don't want to limit any of your options, right? If it's an opportunity to get pretty much free damage on your opponent, just go for it, right? Without trying to sacrifice any of the other points, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so next would be the next phase is the slow push. Okay, slow push is when it's I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Hold on, sorry. So it's lane under control. Sorry, lane under control. So you trade and push to get to the tower or set up the freeze, and then your lane is under control, right? So if you are the one now winning, right? If you've got your Wukong in your winning lane, and it's 20 games from now and you're back to dumpstering the Graves or whoever you're playing against, now you've got pretty much 3 options in the second phase. So option 1 is to zone, right? So I don't know how much you zone. Like, what's your, just as a curiosity, what are your zone mechanics now? Like, say you're up a level, you've got 20 extra CS, you've got 1 extra half item, and you're in lane, and lane's right in the middle. What's your goal? What do you do?
I tried to keep those minions in the middle, you know, prior to knowing what the actual wave freeze. I would just very slowly last hit them. And then I would be close, I would be basically in the green dividing Tri-Bush from his turret.
So
Does that make sense?
So like, okay.
Right about where you run that X. So I would be that X, and he would be closer to his turret.
All right, yeah, perfect. All right, so that's the perfect zone.
And the wave would be where
right, exactly. So you're standing, so you already know, it's perfect. So you're going to stand between caster and opponent. So he can't leech any XP either, right? So it's really important, and obviously you can only do this for, let's call it like half a wave, right? Because as soon as the next wave comes, you have to move away from where you're standing. But for that small amount of time, for like 2 or 3 CS that you're zoning him for, he doesn't get the gold, but more importantly, he doesn't get the XP, so you're starving him. So standing between the caster and opponent is huge, okay? Next is, so one thing you got to be aware of, though, is you open yourself up, obviously, to being easily ganked. So obviously make sure you're always paying attention to where the jungler is. If you know where he is and you can zone him, it's a green light. If you haven't seen him in a minute or two, then you can't really do it. It's really tough to. So also think about like who the jungler is. If you're up against a Gragas or J4, if you're up against an Annie mid lane, if you're up against Thresh who roams, right? So think about anyone who's got some like hard CC, and you could have some issues. You know what I mean? Like, like this is stuff that obviously we'll have to think about more. It'll be like paramount as you climb, like as you get higher and higher to think about this kind of stuff. but just get in the habit now of like, okay, who has the threat of CC? What potential opportunity is for them to come up and roam top? If you're like dumpstering lane, the correct meta, I guess you can call it, the most optimal situation for the enemy team is for the jungler to never come top, right? If your top laner, if you're the jungler and you see your top laner is 0-3 and their top laner is 3-0, you basically type in chat top laner hug tower and don't die anymore, and then you never go top ever, right? Because what's going to happen is you go top, their top laner's fed, he's going to double kill you and the top laner, right? So the meta for these junglers kind of at the higher MMRs is that lane is fucked, I'm going to snowball bot and mid and just camp the shit out of both of them. And since we lost top lane, we're going to win the other lanes and win the game through that. But going top or mid or bot, who's feeding or getting killed, is just kind of like the worst option of the bunch, right?
Right.
So it's important to think about what's going on in the game, right? Like if I'm pushed up, if you're pushed up here, mid lane's pushed to tower, bot lane's pushed to tower, and you haven't seen the jungler in a minute, you are going to get ganked 100%, right? Whether you're winning or losing, right? Because your position is so bad relative to the others, which is why I think you can get a little bit of this from the mini-map, right? But you can't, I don't know if like, so like you said, you clicked on the mini-map to kind of get a better idea, and it's good. Like some people say, oh, like if I just watch the mini-map, I should have an idea, a really good idea of kind of lane dynamics. It's actually impossible because you don't know what the minions are doing, right? Like say our mid lane is pushed to here, right? But there's like 16 CS on his side and like 3 on ours, right? And you might think, okay, I saw the jungler here, so he must be going mid next, right? Because our mid laner is right there, and he's so much, closer than I am.
Yeah.
But the jungler's not dumb, and he's like, okay, this is going to hard shove back to his lane very soon, so I'm not going to gank there. I'm going to gank top lane because you've got a slow pushed minion wave, and you're like way too out of position. So I'm going to go kill that guy, right? And the only way you can get that information is if you look at the middle, right? Physically, like mouse over to it or hit the F key, F2, right?
Yeah.
So F2 spacebar, just in that exact speed, F2 spacebar. All you do there is you're getting a very quick glimpse of how many minions there are and which direction it's pushing. And that's less than a second, and you've got an enormous amount of information, right?
Yeah.
Same with bot lane, F3 spacebar, right? Jungler, F1 spacebar. Just gets an idea of, okay, is my jungler got 30% health or 70% health? Can I ask for a gank now, or do I need to wait until he backs for a gank? And if I have to wait till he backs, then I might want to set the lane up so that maybe I give up 1 or 2 CS, but I know that he's here taking blue buff. He's at 30% health. Once he's done, he's going to immediately back and then look for a lane to gank. So I know I've got around a minute and a half before that happens, before he can back, buy, and then get back to top lane. So let's start setting up our minion wave for that. Let's let him push our minion wave back towards our tower, and by the time he's back to top lane, you're going to move the freeze from here back to here. And then you'll say, hey, top lane, or hey, jungler, can you come top? I'm going to set the freeze up in front of my tower, right?
Right.
So this is also very, like a little bit more advanced, but like also very like helpful. Think into the future, right? Think, okay, what's going to happen in a minute? I may be here now, but what's my jungler doing? Is he going to be able to come gank in a minute and a half? Or maybe the mid laner, right? Mid laner just got a kill, and you're in the and you've got the lane frozen here in the middle. You can say, hey, mid lane, I just saw you got the kill. Roam all the way up top. And that's going to take around 15 seconds to 20 seconds. In that time, just play way back and let him push the wave. And try and do it without being like super obvious about it. But like, just go like last hit as best you can. Let him slow push. Let him get comfortable. And let your mid lane come and get you a gank as well. Okay.
Right.
All right. So, again, just my point in all that is just to think about who you're up against, who you're with, and try and set things up into the future instead of just kind of. At first, I'd say the first few games that you play, it's going to be like more micro focused. I'm sure, like as you try and like consciously think and do things. I don't know if you're gonna if you do decide to like do the stuff we talk about, then like. It's going to be hard to like split your focus to doing everything at once. I know it's kind of a lot that we talked about, but just little by little, try and incorporate as much as you can, and just try and recognize the opportunities when they present themselves. You'll be good to go in no time. So we just kind of talked about how to set up a counter gank, by the way. So that's your kind of your first phase. By the way, do you have like something you need to do, or do you have to go somewhere? I mean, I know we've just gone over an hour, so I don't know if like I'm taking up your time or something.
No, as long I'm good as long as you are.
Okay, yeah, no.
You're willing.
Yeah, no, I woke up just like an hour before I saw your lesson request, so I was like, oh, all right. So I got my day hasn't even started yet. So, all right, so we run out of room, so I'm gonna move it up here. So
before you split off into another section, I do have a question.
Oh yeah.
The one was talking about, I don't know if you're going to do it later or not, I just wanted to make sure you didn't forget, was breaking that freeze.
Yep, oh yeah. We're going to get to that right now, actually.
Okay, cool. And then the other one was the first wave that comes in.
Yep.
How do I handle that first wave? Because I've always been told you want to get your two before them.
Yes.
So if I just last hit it, then we're probably going to get it on the same time.
Yeah.
I can't usually prevent them because we're in the same boat. If they go on to me, they're taking damage and vice versa. So trades that are really viable. And if I push the lane, I'm giving them basically the same amount of CS with the hopes that I can kill the lane before they can damage me down.
Okay.
So I struggle with that.
Okay, so that's an interesting question. So the question is, do I need to hit 2 spike? And let's like just break it down and think about this logically, right? Everyone always says you got to hit your 2 spike first, right? I think that that's complete bullshit. I think that it's totally dependent on not only your champ but your lane. In the bot lane, AD carry and support need to hit their 2 first, right? Like if you hit 2 first, you can all in level 2 and get a kill. Right? Yeah. Super important. That's great. Teemo top, for instance, level 2 hitting first is huge because I get my blind, right? As soon as I get my blind, I end the lane by level 2 almost every time. So hitting level 2 is huge. But what do those 2 situations have in common? You have early kill potential, right? If you can hit level 2 with Wukong, right, and get a kill off of that level 2 spike, then you need to go and, regardless of you shoving the wave, hit that level 2 at all costs, right?
Yeah.
But if you're playing like a Shen, why are you trying to hit level 2? I mean, just last hit. It doesn't matter. If he hits level 2 and he's got kill potential on you, there's nothing you can do about it by being level 2 first, right? I mean, maybe you might have an extra defensive ability, maybe, but like your job is to just, play really safe until you can get to level 2 as well, right?
Yeah, your job is to be alive.
Yeah, so your job is just to not die in certain situations unless you've got kill potential at 2. So that's what I would suggest to you is think about who you're playing or playing against and where does the kill potential lie. If you both have kill potential, then just auto attack like a madman until you can get those first 7 minions, right? And then get to your level 2 and then all in if you can, right? But if you can't and there's no kill potential from your side, then there's no point. And let him, because if he's trying to get level 2 first and he's got the kill potential, he's going to be pushing on you, which is even perfect, right? Because like you may miss 1 or 2 minions, but you're going to get the XP, so you'll still get like to your eventual level 2. But the advantage will be that he won't have killed you because you've been playing safe and you're not also trying to get level 2 for no reason, right? And once he hits level 2, he just hits level 2. He's not going to kill you, so it's fine. You know what I mean? Okay. So that's the way I would approach that. Okay, so cool to move on?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so our next phase, our option 3 under this approach is going to be the reset and freeze, and that's where I'm going to talk about breaking freeze a little bit. But our second is going to be the slow push. So let's see. When it's too dangerous to zone. Like say you've got like we talked about, like an aggressive jungler, and you can't hard shove to their tower. You just want to slow push the lane, right? So last hitting is slow pushing, and last hit as best as you can. Because what's going to happen, as you know, is as you slow push, the wave from your side starts to build and build and build and build, right? And by the time you get to, say, lane starts here, right in the middle. Once you kill the first wave, you might get the freeze here. Third wave, you might get the freeze here, right? So this is sort of dangerous, right? And this is really dangerous, right? So you want to make sure that once you get the second freeze finished, the next wave that comes in, you just absolutely demolish as fast as possible, so that your whole wave hits this tower at one time, right? So it's harder for them to last hit, and you're standing kind of back here. I mean, unless you have a pokey champ like Teemo, you want to be standing back and just trying to get XP or whatever, but you want to be positioning so that if a gank does come, you can easily get out, right? And as soon as the tower and he get all the minions, we're going to get a reset back to right here, okay? It's not going to come back to the middle, but it's going to come back to right here. So you can kind of rinse and repeat. If you've got an advantage, and hopefully you have a level advantage and a CS advantage at this point, then you can start to think about zoning again, right? I'm going to stand back here. He's going to have to hug tower while I get the free XP and gold, right? Slow push, last hit only, etc. If we get, again, the wave pushed back to here by the next wave, again, just shove it back into tower, let it reset back to here, okay? So that's your laning phase. When you're winning lane and you're the aggressor, that's the way you do it. If you're losing lane or you're not the aggressor, you're gonna freeze it here, okay?
Right.
And that's just kind of as simple as it gets. But the slow push is a very important tactic. You don't want to just kind of mindlessly push or not push or try and freeze in the middle. Like, if you're gonna freeze ever, freeze it here, right? But like, if you've got that 4 minion advantage, and you can try and let it push a little further back, right? But your ideal freezing point is towards your tower. You never freeze it past the river. So as soon as you pass the river with the minion line, always think about, okay, now I'm in slow push mode. Now I'm going to creep my way to, just about the edge of this brush. And then once I get that, I'm just going to fucking shove it right into their tower and reset it back. Okay?
Okay. All right.
So that's your basic lane, like, minion strategy. All right? So point 2 is obviously spam trading stance. Holy fuck. Stance, it's early, don't make fun of me. So when slow pushing, so don't forget about everything else we've talked about, right? Like, keep doing what you've been thinking about doing. When this is also something that if you watch LCS, by the way, that they do routinely, what I'm about to tell you here. So when you've slow pushed, and also at like Master Challenger level, you see, if you watch any of those games, they do this all the time. But when you've slow pushed the wave to their tower, call for a gank. Now, I don't know if I would suggest doing this if you're lower than gold. Like, maybe like gold, like 3 or higher. It's kind of an ambiguous, like, gold 3 is like not that much better than gold 2 or even like plat 5. But it's like they know a little bit more, like how to dive. So when you have 15 minions on their tower, or like call it like 10 minions on their tower, you can call for a jungle gank dive, right? And pretty much safely be able to do it. So he can't clear the wave fast enough for himself to be saved. So the only way he survives is to run away. But if you get that jungler to come in, this way, he's pincered, and the dive can commence. And if you've been trading with him all the way up to the tower, he should only be like 60-70% health. And if you both dive, you'll be able to get the kill easily. Okay, and you'll see this happen at high levels all the time. They slow push waves into tower. Once the massive wave hits, they call in a TP. The mid lane comes, the jungler comes, and a lot of times you'll see this happen in bot lane, where they'll slow push the waves to the tower, and then they'll just bring everyone down for a dive, 4 or 5 man dive, and those only work, and those are only set up because there's a massive minion wave. Okay, right. That's the prerequisite. That you'll never see that happen at high levels. If there's no minions to do it, like that's just suicide. So okay. Next is respect flash initiate. Just make sure if he's got kill potential on you, you're not you're not just like playing too cocky and just letting yourself get killed for no reason. Name of the game is CS number 1 and number 2 not die. And obviously be careful when you push the tower.
Now I know. I guess pseudo perfect CS is 127 in 12 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's not realistic, obviously.
Not at all. No.
My typical CS by about 10 minutes is roughly 70.
That's fine. So as a Teemo main, I basically get to free farm whenever I want because I'm constantly zoning my opponent, and like I've probably played 1,000 games of Teemo, and I still at 10 minutes, like the best I can do is like 85. So it's like if you're trading with your opponent, or if you're getting ganks or getting ganked, you can't perfectly last hit and do all that at the same time. So it's like game dynamics will dictate that. Like sometimes you'll get 70, sometimes you'll get 80, sometimes you'll get 50. If you died in lane, right, you're going to miss out on a lot a CS. Especially
as long as you're ahead of them, that's the main
exactly thing. Yeah, as long as you're ahead of them, and as long as you're having a bigger and earlier impact on the rest of the lanes than your opponent, right? And so. Yeah, I would say that 70 CS at 10 minutes is just fine. Especially because the utility of like some of the tankier top laners, like a Shen, you probably don't need like huge items to become like pretty relevant, right? You just need your level 6, your taunt, and you need like maybe some armor to go down bot lane and fuck some shit up, right? Yeah. So you don't need like a Teemo needs like his boots, and he needs like 1 damage item. So like missing CS is like a little bit more of an issue with someone like that, or I'm sure even Wukong to some degree, right? But I'm sure Wukong's got like enough base damage that like even half an item will have you stronger than most other opponents anyway, right?
Yeah, especially with the Q.
Yeah, so even better. So like those kind of champs, like if you work on your mechanics of CS, there's like no downside ever. Like people, I don't understand why people don't go into custom games with new champs and just perfectly last hit until they're like, until they're doing it on such autopilot. Like for me, Morgana top, I think Morgana top, if you've never tried it, it's fun as hell. Like you are literally untouchable top lane, because if anyone comes near you, you just bind them and pull them, and they lose half their HP. It's fucking awesome. I literally just started playing around with this like a month ago. Morgana top is fucking awesome. But the hardest part about Morgana top is last hitting, because her auto attack damages do like 12 damage. So like you have to wait until the minions are really, really, really low. And the only way you do that is to go into a custom game and do it for like an hour or 2. And like think about it, like okay, I can go into a custom game for literally 1 hour with just myself and practice last hitting level 1 and 2, and I will have gotten about, let's call it 10 or 15 games worth of experience by doing that. Or I could go play 10 or 15 games, which will take like a fucking week, and I'll lose every one of those games because I've got 20 CS at 10 minutes. You know what I mean? Like, so it's worth the time in the long run if you just go into a custom and just fuck around until you've gotten a ridiculous level of CS ability, right?
You didn't happen to look at my OPGG file, did you?
I did, but I couldn't really tell too much from.
There's probably 15 custom games.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah, I didn't scroll through because it doesn't really tell you. It's like normal, ranked, yeah. ARAM, love it. Okay, Yeah, I just looked through the top page here. I didn't see any of it, but yeah, so that's good. I'm glad you do customs because you see the value in it. That's really good. All right, so the reset and freeze, right? So when enemy won't be easily pushed, enemy, fuck me in the ass. Okay, won't be pushed easily. With the trading stance. Let's make this bigger. Yeah, right there. All right. Then you want to freeze. So, like, if you can't do anything to him and you can't shit on him and kill him, then freeze it, right? Like, if you're Shen and you don't have too much kill potential, then just freeze the lane, right? If you freeze it by your tower, you become immune to ganks. They'll try and bust. They have two options. Bust the freeze or roam. Okay. So if they're under leveled, roaming is a terrible, terrible idea for them, right? Like they're losing out on XP, they're losing out, but they might not have an option, right? They might have to. So that's like super advantageous to you. That's like awesome for you to see. Okay, he's roaming, he's gonna go mid. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. If it works, good for him. He's still got to go back and then come back to lane while he's been free farming. Or, which will probably be the equivalent in gold to the assist he got, right? Or the kill he got. So that's advantageous because you've been free farming. Or, even better, he gets killed, or it's just completely worthless and he walked to mid lane and walked back to top lane and you still get the free farm. So having the freeze by your tower helps in that regard. And then also having him roam is a good thing, but then also busting the freeze is also a real big problem for him because he's going to have to aggressively attack all of your minions and try and break through the freeze so that he can push it. Like I was explaining before, like if you're trying to, if you've got your lane here, and you've slow pushed it and you want to get it to tower, it kind of works the same way if it's here, right? So like he's got a lot of minions. The reason that you're trying to hard shove, he's going to be trying to, if he's a smart player and he's good, he's going to be trying to shove hit when the minion line stops here. He's going to try and shove because he says, okay, he's setting up a permanent freeze. I see I've got more minions than he does, and he's just last hitting as I'm last hitting. So as he starts to aggro your minions, you equally aggro his minions. So as soon as he kills one minion, you kill another minion, right? So all you're doing is you're mirroring him, okay? So you keep those forecaster minions, and you start CSing the exact same speed that he CSs, all right? Okay. If he's trying to poke you down while you're under turret, perfect, because then you can just last hit really slow, keep the permafreeze. If he starts to realize, oh shit, I've been here for like a minute and a half, and like literally nothing's happened. He's lost like 10% of his HP, but I've been exposed to a gank for like a minute and a half. I need to like bust this freeze, so he starts attacking the minions only. Then you start attacking the minions only, right? And then he starts attacking you. Then his minions, then you can start attacking him, and it's just kind of like you can call your jungler up. Like it's just like a lose for him, right? If it's a frozen lane, and it's all about just kind of managing the wave, right? So just make sure you are keeping pace so that your freeze never breaks. Okay?
Okay.
Does that make sense? Does that kind of answer the freeze issue? Okay, cool. Okay, so just another point. This is kind of a outside point, but gold and below-ish, I would say goldish and below, have no idea how wave management works. You can literally win a lane with wave management alone. You could have like a 6-year-old's mechanics, and as long as you're managing the wave right, you can win every single lane. Okay, just keeping it in the right spot, calling for a gank at the right time, not dying. I mean, these are very, very simple things, right, to win your lane. And so yeah, that's basically everything I had for like the laning phase itself. Let's call it the first like 15 minutes of the game, up until someone takes the tower. Did you have any like general questions about any of that?
No, it's pretty straightforward. Obviously, detailed enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty like learning the laning phase is obviously step one to getting like really good at this game. And once you've got it down, like just the general idea of how to do it with every champ, then everything else becomes simple. Then you just have to worry about, okay, what do I do now once the laning phase is over? Transition to mid and then late game, which is kind of like later lessons if you wanted to do that. But before I leave you, I did want to just run through some examples. And these are all Teemo games. I hope you're okay with that, because I didn't have any like. And by the way, I'll refrain from doing any Malphite games, so I don't give you any trauma or anything. But so I'm just kidding. But yeah, so let's do Darius. So there's just going to give you an idea of how I manage waves and how I manage the first 5 minutes of every game and how I literally end the laning phase. And these, okay, so this is my YouTube channel. I literally just post these so that I can review my games myself, and then I have them in like a permanent place. And you know, I get 0 viewers, but I don't care. Like, it's not about that. It's about like being able to like rewatch my games and then like figure out what I did right and what I did wrong. And it's actually, I found helpful for these lessons, right? So I can kind of show people what to do right, what to do wrong. So first of all, I go into stealth. This is kind of what I used to do season 5, like mid season 5, and I just go stealth in the middle of the lane and then cheese 2 auto attacks for free, right? And I just watched, I don't know if you saw that, but Darius is in this brush right here. So he doesn't know I'm here. He thinks he's going to cheese me, but I'm going to cheese him instead. And let's just speed this up. Okay, so fuck my life too far. Okay. So alright, let me pause this for a second because I might have had. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, kind of unfortunate because like I couldn't really get out of that spot, so I'm gonna eat this damage. But what do I do right after that is I just attack him for free after, because I know he has no retaliation, right? I still lost that trade. You can see my health is lower than his, but it was because it was kind of an unfortunate, unlucky event that he was in that brush. That typically doesn't happen. But point is, now we get into the laning phase itself. He's got 3 minions dead. I've got 3 minions dead, right? Problem is for him now is he's in this brush just trying to get soak XP. So my job, I can kill these minions faster than he can kill these because he's not even in range to hit them. So my job is to stay out of his spinny axe range at all times and to kill these minions as fast as I can. So I'm going to attack these minions, and if he shows himself, attack him as best I can while staying safe. So I see him come out of the brush and he's coming for me. What am I doing immediately is I'm clicking away, right? So I'm mirroring his movements. So he clicks towards me, tries to spinny axe, doesn't get it. Immediately I'm clicking back. Immediately. This is free damage from here on out, as much as I can get on him. So he got a little bit of damage on these minions, but again, I got all 3 down. His all 3 are up still. So he's still 4 minions away from level 2. I hit level 2, auto Q, right? I'm mirroring his movements. He moves away, I move towards him. He moves towards me, I move away. Okay? And at the same time, I'm last hitting. Alright, so now he's effectively zoned. And I'm pushing real hard, right? Like, I've got a lot of minions and we'll probably crash right here. Yeah. So again, I make a mistake and I get hit, but I'm still, look, he's at 20%. He's dead. Right now, he's dead. If I flash ignite auto, Q auto, he's dead. So I'm trying to get in position first for that. Okay? So I get an extra auto just to kind of ensure his death and keep him low. So what am I? So we're frozen here in front of his turret, okay? And we've slow pushed this massive wave. So judging from what we've talked about, what are 2 things that are like glaringly obvious that we need to do right now?
Well, to be push the lane into the turret.
Okay, that's number 1. What's the second thing? We didn't talk about it too much, but warding. right?
Yeah, I was to say ward because you can probably kill him in the turret, but you're very open.
Yeah, I have no vision at all. And what's the time in the game? It's like, what, 2 minutes and 2.5 minutes? This is like 3 minutes and 15 seconds-ish is the jungle clear time for both buffs for most junglers, okay?
Yeah.
So
they could be coming up through your tribe.
Yeah, so he can come from the river, he can come from the tri, he can come from anywhere. So I'm bloodlusted, though, because I'm like, I have this kill. I'm going to get this kill. Look at his health. Oh, fuck, here's Lee Sin. I'm like, oh, no. I'm like, what do I do here? Funny thing is, by the way, this was like gold 5 or something, or gold 4, yeah. So he flashes into me. I ignite him. I basically ignite flash auto Q just to ensure the kill so that I don't just die empty-handed. I basically resolve myself to death there, and that's something that you got to know, right? Like split-second decision. Can I escape or can I not escape this, right? So I'm in this position here. I'm ready to, as soon as this wave starts to get the tower, I can start to get real aggressive on him and get into that tower range for a poke, right? I know the tower arc is here, and I know if I stand in this wave, so that's what I'm focusing on. So this moment here, I've got my flash still. Can I get out of this alive? Probably, right? Like there's a possibility that I get out alive, but it's a long way to my tower. I could get chased down. It is Lee Sin. If he hits his Q, I'm fucked. So there is like a percentage chance. Let's call it, and I kind of think about this kind of on the fly. There's a percentage chance that I will die here. And let's call it a 65% chance, 75% chance, right? That I die, 25% likelihood I get out. There's a 100% chance I can kill him, right? But I don't know if there's it's maybe a 5 or 10% likelihood that I kill him and get out alive. So I'm just going to expend everything I have to make sure I get this kill 100%, right? He does a lot of the work for me by flashing into me like an idiot. But I decide, once he spinny axed me and he got some health back, I didn't know if I would be able to get the kill without flashing in and getting an extra auto. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to do it.
So the alternative would have been push the lane in, drop down that ward.
Yes,
push
the lane. Ideal, I fucked that up, but the ideal is push that lane as soon as those waves get into aggro range of the tower. You back out, you ward the brush, or I'll give you a better place to ward if you've got the time, because you will. You ward right here.
Or the bush, the
entryway. So it gives you all of this vision here. And then it gives you all of this vision here. So if you see him coming from blue buff, you've got so much time, right? Like, of course, it'll go dark around here, but you'll know he's coming for you, which is all you need, right? So this is like a really sneaky yet awesome board, and nobody ever sweeps for it, right? So that is, in my opinion, the best ward possible, but you have to walk all the way down there. So the best time to do it is as soon as the minions start to walk towards his turret, you've got plenty of time. Go down there, give it a ward, come back. Then he's only got like really one way to get to you, and that's like from counter jungle through your tri, right? That's the only way, and that's a really low percentage chance. And that's all you're looking for is like high percentage chances, right? And if he does all that work, he deserves to kind of gank you undetected, right? Yeah. Both of us are killed, resets right back in the middle, but if you notice, because we had the wave, look at the size. Look at this. Yeah. Yep. Now it's pushing back to me. This is fucking perfect. As soon as I get back to the lane, and he's gonna come back and shove it as hard as he can. So you can see me like readjusting these guys so that I can F key. But he's shoving because he knows I'm Darius against Teemo. There's not going to be a lot of opportunity to get CS. I can't just last hit and freeze the wave. I have to hard shove because I need to get as many CS as possible. It's a really short-sighted way to look at things. But look at this now. Permafreeze, right? You can see me. I'm just last hitting now.
Yeah.
As soon as he tries to, excuse me, get a last hit on anything, my job is to poke him, and it's free poke because he's ranged and because I'm ranged and he's not. So he does spinny axe. You can see I'm trying to match his range and just get free poke as best I can. Play this. I'm slowing the game down, right? Slow the game down as best as I can. I CS a little too hard. It's fine. So like he makes a mistake by pulling me, and like he thinks, okay, I've pulled him. I'm gonna fucking kill this Teemo. Well, he's level 4. I'm level 5. I have more items than him. I'm stronger than him. So he pulls me, and I'm literally like, okay, what are you doing, buddy? I'm just gonna murder you. I can literally just walk up to him, and he's dead. And there's nothing you can do about it. So again, this is all set up because I've got a permanent freeze, and he's only got, very few options. If he tries to get CS, I get free poke. So optimally for him, he needs to either go take other jungles camps or roam around or try and bust the freeze. Busting the freeze is impossible against the Teemo, which is why I love Teemo. You cannot bust a freeze against them. All right, if you're a melee champ, right? Unless you're Wukong.
Right here, you shove that lane in to try to get the reset, right?
Yes. So I see. I'm. By the way, I guess I didn't point that out. So as soon as I get that kill, you can see I hit level 6 off of that last wave, and I'm like, all right, I have 2 options. I can set the freeze now, or start the slow push now because I've got a bigger wave than he does, or I can shove the tower. So obviously the better solution is to shove, because if he gets back to lane, I've got half health. He's going to have more items. This way, he loses all that gold, all that CS to this tower. But by the time it comes back, we'll be right here, right? But knowing what we know about Darius and the fact that I'm starving him, he's going to hard shove this wave because he knows that he's got limited time to be able to free CS, right? So he wants to get as much CS as he possibly can. That is a bad. Like, let me just tell you, if you're the Darius player, if say you're Malphite in this situation, don't just think I need CS now. Okay, I think I have the wave shoved to my tower, and I need to set up a permanent freeze. Okay, so even though you're going to get less CS in the short run, you're going to get more CS and more kill potential in the long run because you're keeping the lane by you. What he's doing, and stupidly, and I know he's doing it because I just saw him do it. And I know that signals that he's not an experienced top laner, is he's shoving it back. So I know I don't want to be there while he's doing that, right? So I take the time to get the Krugs. The Krugs are equivalent in experience and gold to a full wave. So it's fine that I lose, if I do lose experience, to maybe half of a wave, because I'm making up for it right here. And by the time I'm done taking these, he's going to have the wave shoved back to my tower.
Right.
So, and the same works for the other side. Taking Gromp, it's the same thing. So if you're dumpstering your lane opponent, look at this. I get back to lane, I've missed, there's 3 ranged and 2 melee, I've missed 1 CS, right? And I've gotten Gromp, and I can now set the freeze back up because he's got a bigger wave, right? This is all just wave management. That's all it is. Right? I haven't done anything fancy. There's no mechanics. All I'm doing is making sure I'm setting the freeze up as best I can. So I'm trying to, I thought about tanking the minion damage to set the freeze up, but it was too much, and I decided not to. I said, okay, I'll just last it under tower. By the time these are all dead, we'll still have the freeze here, okay? So now it's 6-on-6 freeze. I'm going to have to start the slow push process because I don't have enough minions to set a permanent freeze, right? I'm going to be last hitting. He's probably not going to be last hitting all that much, so it's going to start the slow push. But starting a slow push here means I'm going to get 3 waves before I have to hard shove into that tower, right? That's so much time to whittle him down and get another kill. So this is like, this is what you want to think about what you want to do. Look at this situation. We're I can't see the timer, but it's like we're like 5 minutes. We're 7 minutes in the game. He's level 4. I'm level 7, and this lane is completely over, right? Yeah. So and all I've done is wave management and just using my making sure I use my my champion to the best of his ability, and that's being a bully and making sure I starve him, right? Yeah. But lane management is a huge thing. So actually, okay. So now he's in trouble, and I get free poke, and he tries to CS as best he can, but every time he goes for something, like I see him trying to look for this minion, so I'm going to stand right at the edge of his little spinny thing, and as soon as he tries to go for it, I'm going to try and go in there and get some free damage if he doesn't back off. So again, slow push, right? I just have 1 or 2 minions more than he does now because all I'm doing is last hitting, right? This is the wave number 2 that I get for free, okay? Anyway, I think I get away from this, but if I ignited him here, I might have killed him because he hits that shroom, which is hilarious. So anyway, that's just kind of like your general. So now they see, okay, I'm level 5. Hey, jungler, come help. This is why you don't send a jungler top, right? I almost killed Lee Sin, and he came to gank me. Like, the jungler is now, like, he's fucked. Like, in the grand scheme of things, he now came at me at full health. He didn't get anything from it. he's gonna have to steal Darius's CS just to make it worth it. Now he's still fucked, right? Because he's like, oh god, like all the CS, like what, you know, now I have to share it, the XP and the CS, and the jungler has to go back because he's too low to do anything else. So our jungler just got an advantage just off of that stupid gank. You know what I mean? So it's never advised to go help your losing top laner or losing mid laner because of this exact scenario. You set yourself back so far.
I see. Yeah, that's smart. I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's huge, and a lot of games snowball in the wrong direction just because of that. So if you're losing lane, I would suggest honestly telling your jungler never to come gank for you. Just tell him not to come, because unless
what happens though when you have like somebody who hard pushes, like you get somebody who just fucking their job is to basically backdoor. I mean, you can't ignore him. He's pushing you down the lane. You're getting shit on. You can't hold him in the turret because
yeah. So what you do in that situation is you surrender top turret. So you're gonna let him. And this is, by the way, this is only in the scenario where you're getting fucking dumpstered, like me and the Darius. So this Darius, the move if I was him would be to just completely give up top lane and just say, I am now going to help Lee Sin jungle, and I'm going to gank lanes, and I'm going to try and take camps that are not super important, like Gromp or Krugs, and then I'm going to help mid lane and bot lane snowball, but I'm going to let Teemo take the top tower, and then if he wants to continue shoving, he's going to be like, you know, good luck trying to shove tier 2, right? When we've still got mid lane up, it's early in the game. Like, as a Teemo then, if I take this tower, if they're good, they'll start to use their snowball to win the rest of the lanes. But this gives you an opportunity to then set up a freeze here, right? So as soon as the tower goes down, try and let them take it as fast as they can, and then you can set up a freeze on your side, and then you're basically safe, right? Them being in your side of the lane this deep without wards and without help is really dangerous, right? So you can start to equalize, but don't be afraid to just surrender your top tower, okay? Just so you can get back into the game. Right. But this is only if you're getting fucking shit on, right? If you're only down 1 kill and you're down like 15 CS, then just try and get them to shove the tower and then call for a gank. Like, ganks are fine if you're only down a little bit, but if you're getting absolutely shit on, then you don't have very many options. It's just surrender top and then try and get back into the game as best as possible. So, all right, so let me show you another one. All right, so Cho'Gath, right? This is another Gold 4 game. It's recorded back in November. So, all right, so, all right, so back in lane, same thing. I'm trying to get the cheese off, right? This is the standard Teemo cheese. I've actually changed my strategy now, and it's actually even better. So you know how blue buff here has 2 small minions? If you kill one of the minions, it's the equivalent of 2 in lane, right? So it only then takes you 5 minions to hit level 2 instead of 7, and you can surprise level 2 all-in people. So if you can go into a custom game as Wukong and figure out a way to get one of those small creeps with taking like little to no damage, you can surprise your lane opponent every single time and get level 2 first and just fucking shit all over their face. All right? So I've never actually tried to do this with like a Wukong, but I can do it with Teemo without taking any damage at all. So I get to lane as soon as it's not playing. I get to lane as soon as the minions start attacking each other with 2 minions worth of HP or XP, and the opponent doesn't know it. So we'll be trading, and as soon as I get the second caster minion, I'll hit my level 2 spike and all in them, and they won't see it coming, and they'll be mispositioned. They'll die almost every time. So try and do that as Wukong. See if you can do that somehow without like kite it back. If you look at but maybe I might have a video I can show you how I do it with Teemo. But all you do is I've got my stealth here, and as soon as I come out of it, I've got increased attack speed for like 2 seconds, and I use that to my advantage, then kite back, and I can usually take that small one without getting hit. So try it out, see what you think. But it's if you can figure it out with getting hit once or 0 times, it's like a huge advantage. All right, so all right. So I didn't really talk through this. Let's go back this real quick. So again, I'm using the cheese tactic here. As soon as these minions get to lane, all right, back. Okay, so all right, so I immediately get 3 free autos, right? So he's down to this health. and I've taken some minion aggro, and that's about it, right? So now my job is to last hit while poking. I don't want to hyper shove, but I want to make sure that I'm going to hit my level 2 before he does. So here's here's a massive mistake that I wanted to show you, that as a minion player and a melee player, that you will never make, and I'm sure you don't, but I'm always positioning myself here, kind of in line with my caster minions. It's kind of a fucked up grouping because as a Teemo, when you aggro someone, the minions start to move towards you. But I'm just looking for opportunities because he's level 1, right? He's got his Vorpal spikes and he doesn't have the ground stomp yet, so he has got no CC on me. So I'm just trying to make sure that I stay out of range of his Vorpal spikes, but that's not very hard to do because it's kind of like a skill shot-ish kind of thing. So like, I see this as a low creep, and I see he's actually going to try and get it. So you can see my next click is up, right? It probably should have been here instead of here, but it was like, you know, in the general direction, because I know what's going to happen here is he's going to try and attack this. He's not going to get level 2 off of this. So he's got no CC. I can literally attack move him from here to his tower, right? So as soon as he gets it, I'm clicking him, clicking up, clicking him, clicking up, clicking him, clicking up, and the lane's over. Like, he's dead, right? Flash ignite, auto Q auto, and the lane's over. Yeah. And this is 1 minute into the game, right? So again, like, this is kind of more of like an advertisement for Teemo, but like, this is just all I'm doing, and this is possible with any champ, right? It's just the speed of which you do it is going to be different, and then kind of the way you do it is different, right? Like, if you're playing a Quinn, or you're playing like a Vayne or a Graves, you know, like, the idea of what I'm doing with Teemo stays almost exact same, right?
Right.
But if you're playing a melee champ, you know, it becomes a little bit different of a game, but the idea and the philosophy stays the same, right? Managing the minion wave and trading for free as best you can. And so, I don't know if you heard that, but so in the video I talk about, okay, this guy's made mistakes before trying to just get like 1 minion. He's sacrificed his entire HP for like a single minion last hit, which is never worth it. By the way, I think it's if you get auto attack 2 or more times for 1 CS, it's not worth it. So if you can only eat 1 auto for 1 last hit, then it becomes worth it. Otherwise, in the long run, just avoid the CS. Just take the XP. All right. So what I say is I've seen him make mistakes for CS before. So what I'm going to do is I could flash ignite him right now and he's dead, but I'm going to try and save my ignite for when he makes another mistake. So right now I get I was like, oh fuck. I was like, I really wanted it. I was like, man, I should just totally just flash for this. But he walked into my range. I got his flash, and I saved mine too. So again, like, this lane is pretty much completely over with. He's got no chance left. So my job now is, what do I do? Do I shove it to tower? I could, but I know he's got TP, right? So I don't have time. I don't have time to shove it to tower because he's going to TP back. So I left 4 or 5 minions so that by the time I get back, I'm going to have a massive wave that I can freeze right here permanently. Okay?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Awesome. Yep. So I just try and make sure that, and this is the mistake he's making, again, the same one that Darius makes, is I'm going to hard shove this. Yeah. Instead of trying to, I mean, it's just like, you know, basic stuff, but, you know, he's now zoned completely, and I can just free attack him, and he's completely fucked again. So, I don't know. It's just funny. And now I get a gank, which is even more sad. I feel bad for this guy. And I don't even follow it up because I know he's dead. I mean, I started after a while because I was like, wait, really? You're not going to get the kill? So anyway, like, he's basically, the Rengar is just basically saying, okay, we're going to get this Teemo to be like a hyper carry really early in the game, and that's pretty much what happened. I think we still lost that game, by the way. But still, that's kind of your general thing. I'll show you just one more Riven game. And this will be appropriate for you to kind of see just how kind of, I think, Riven Riven like can be outplayed pretty easily.
Yeah, but Riven's also a huge fish who has way too much damage in the game.
Yeah. I mean, the nice thing is, like, people think Riven's a counter to Teemo, but only if you know how to do it right. Like for instance, you just level 1 should never ever get autoed by Teemo, right? So like, look, she thinks, okay, I'm gonna try and out damage Teemo because I'm stronger than him early, which is true. But what she did was she took 2 of her broken wings just to get to me, and she did the last one to knock me airborne. Oh my god, look at all that health I lost, right? But here's the problem. I was auto-attacking her the whole time, and now she's got nothing left. So, like, if I just followed her and all into her, I could have just killed her there, right?
Yeah.
But instead, I just got 3 free autos, and now she's half health, and what did I get? Almost nothing, right? So, again, she's, like, making horrible mistakes coming this far up. Like, for her, she needs to get the... Yeah, so, like, I'm trying to test her with this, like, moving forward. Like, you don't have a shield yet, so this is all free damage. I'm trying to keep track of your Qs to make sure you can't gap close. And now I'm, like we talked about, I'm behind the caster minions. She doesn't get any XP. She doesn't get anything, right? And we're slow pushing the wave, and now I can just shove it into tower. And as you can see, I'm probably just going to start attacking these minions if I can. Well, I'm probably going to get the kill first. But this is an example of the Teemo combo that I love so much. Flash Ignite, Auto Q Auto, no counterplay. There's nothing you can do. You're going to die. Even with your shield. She took shield level 2, and it's just not enough. So she shields it, she's dead, and now I hard shove back into tower. I can go back and buy and be back in lane by the time she gets back. But then I get ganked by Udyr. He tries to attack move, which was a really bad decision on his part, so I killed him too. So, like, it's just, I don't know. Blind is like one of the most OP things in the game, I think. I mean, all these auto attack based champs are just really, they get it rough. So anyway, you can kind of see how lane management, wave management is like super important in these games.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
So anyway, that's kind of all I had for this kind of like lesson 1 thing. It was kind of off the cuff in terms of top lane stuff because I've never really done a lesson on things not related to Teemo, but I don't know. I hope you got some.
Yeah, no, it was very informative, to be honest.
Okay, nice. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just upload this to YouTube. Do you want me to make it private, or do you care if it's public? Just
it doesn't really matter.
Okay, yeah, literally only.
I mean, if it can be useful to somebody else, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you're going to be the only one watching it, but it's just it's easier for me, so I don't have to like make it private and then send you like a link and all that stuff. Yeah, I just upload it and go. So.